Board of Supervisors meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the pledge. Mr. Pedro, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Now it's time for oral communication. Anybody can speak on any item that's not printed on the written agenda. Seeing none, I will move on to consent calendar. Could the clerk please read them?
Minutes of the meeting held on February 4th, 2014.
Oh, do we have a public comment? Come on, Larry.
Well, I didn't know if I wanted to cover this now or when I was
We don't waste time.
back up here later. So, no, I'm actually bringing good news to you. Recently received this back from CalEd, which is the California Association of Local Economic Development. They are a statewide organization for economic development. We submitted the local government and innovation and economic development initiatives, and we sent Tuolumne County in for that, for business and customer-oriented Tuolumne County, and we actually was one of the award winners. So I wanted to come up here today and say this is a tough feat. I've actually served on this committee before for the awards, and we are one of the Award of Merit winners. So we're one of the very top. We did not get the grand prize. It was a very tough competition from what I hear, but we did receive one of the Award of Merit, and there was even additional awardees who did not even make it in that top group. So I just wanted to come up here and congratulate Tuolumne County on their award for this. So.
I don't think we could have done it without you, Larry.
No. But you get a nice little plaque.
All right. Is there any other public comment? Okay. Now would the clerk please read the consent calendar?
Minutes of the meeting held February 4th, 2014, approving the corrected Health Care Unit 2013-15 through 15 Memorandum of Understanding, Article 16 term, approving the revised Appraiser 1-2, Senior Appraiser, Auditor Appraiser 1-2, and Senior Auditor Appraiser class specifications, adopting a resolution approving the road name of Dunlap Lane, adopting a resolution approving the vacation of a public utility easement in Lake Don Pedro Subdivision Unit Number 3, approving the appointment of Anna Noonan to the First 5 Tuolumne County Commission, and accepting the resignation of Mandy Trong and Connor Todd from the Tuolumne County Youth Commission, and directing the clerk to post a notice of vacancy.
Would any board member like to pull an item? Item 3? Okay. And any others?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 3.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any public comment? Bring it back to the board. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Could the clerk please read item 3?
Consideration of approving the revised Appraiser Number 1-2, the Senior Appraiser, Auditor Appraiser 1-2, and Senior Auditor Appraiser class specifications.
Thank you. Staff report.
Recently, we have been notified of some retirements that are happening in the Assessor Recorder's office, and as a result, we've reviewed class specs. The Assistant Assessor is retiring June 3rd. We did a recruitment. We have filled that position internally, and as a result, we have left a vacancy at a lower level. When we compared the class specs as they currently exist to what the law allows, we brought before you changes to these specs that reflect the changes in education and their abilities. Previously, we only allowed people with 4-year degrees. The law allows actually people that have a degree or a combination of education, experience, and certifications to hold these jobs. So we have updated the class specs accordingly, and we are recommending that your board approve the revised class specs of Appraiser 1-2, Senior Appraiser, Auditor Appraiser 1-2, and Senior Auditor Appraiser.
Question?
explain to me why we feel a need to relax the requirements. Are we really having trouble recruiting?
We have in the past.
Are we having trouble recruiting now?
We haven't run a recruitment for these particular class specs yet, but with looking at our comparison counties as well as following the law, we thought it best that our class specs follow what the law allows. So therefore, it opens up a wider net and allows more people to apply than would normally be qualified.
Go ahead,
Well,
Jeff.
just in general, I'm kind of opposed to lowering requirements as long, unless there's a real problem doing it. I mean, just because the state relaxes the requirements for something doesn't mean we have to. Is that correct?
I don't know.
I mean, we've had these requirements for some time, right?
We've had these requirements for some time, yes.
Okay.
And we have had problems in the past recruiting, looking for people with only four-year degrees. We have had those issues. And we do with other classes.
Mr. Chair, if I can just interject.
Sure.
I would disagree in characterizing this as a lowering of the standard. This is just another way, through experience and certification, that you can compete for these jobs, and you would be probably as qualified, arguably, if not more so, through the combination of the certification and experience. And we have done this throughout the county organization. It's a best practice throughout the state, to do it. So I don't see this as a dumbing down or lowering our standards.
I didn't say dumbing down.
Okay, well, it's a lowering of standards. I would not characterize it that way. It's another way to come there, and I would argue that perhaps you get someone who is better qualified through hands-on experience in tandem with the certification.
Supervisor Gray?
Yeah. We're going to pick the very best candidate.
Yes.
Regardless.
Regardless.
And through experience, through the type of education that they have, whether it's a degree or not, in my opinion, is not as important as finding somebody that's best matched for the job. So I have no problem with it.
Did you want to say something, Ken?
Good morning. Ken Catano, Assessor Recorder. I think Mr. Gray stole some of what I was going to say. Again, the positions will be available to people that either have degrees or have education and experience that is equivalent, and whoever is making the decision as to who to hire will be able to choose whomever they wish. This allows a wider net, as Ann said, and still the selection of the person, whether he have a degree or not, will be up to the assessor who's making that decision at that time.
Okay. I'm okay. I'll move on to staff recommendation.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. Any public comment? Bring it back. All in favor? Opposed? Carries 4-0. Thank you. Could the clerk please read item 8?
Consideration of adopting a resolution continuing the local state of emergency due to the current drought.
Good morning. Tracy Riggs, County Administrator's Office and Office of Emergency Services. The item before you today, as you may remember from the REM fire, anytime a governing body declares a local state of emergency, that declaration must be reviewed and renewed or ended at a minimum no less than every 30 days. Your board approved the declaration on February 4th, and so today we're before you asking you to consider renewing that declaration. What I'd like to do is provide you with a little bit of information as to what's happened since that last declaration. So on Friday, we had what we are now calling the Water Task Force meeting, for lack of a better word. This is consistent with the label of this type of meeting is consistent across the state of California, and a lot of the counties are initiating these. What we did was we made an effort to pull in, as you know, we've been working with Tuolumne Utilities District, Twain Harte Community Services District, Groveland Community Services District. We wanted to put that net out a little bit larger and gather some of these other small water agencies / companies that are providing water to the public. As a result, we had 46 people or different individuals attend this meeting representing a wide array of different types of agencies. The primary purpose of this meeting was to reach out to these companies and let them know that we are here as a resource, that in the event as we move through the rest of this, this drought period, that they know who to contact if they begin developing problems within their water systems. We also had in attendance among, other than county staff, we had California Department of Public Health, California Department of Water Resources, and of course Cal OES was there to support us as they have been since August when we had the fire. Now, what DWR, the Department of Water Resources, made it clear that their primary role is not here to regulate. They are here to be here as a resource for all of our county agencies, water companies. And they're currently working with us. You may remember that I had put out, staff had put out a request to ask through Cal OES to help us in assessing the health of our groundwater system. So as a result, both Department of Water Resources and California Department of Public Health are coming together to help us in doing that. DWR is currently creating and developing a map that will list out every single well within the county and the depth of those wells. And in the meantime, the Department of Public Health has been reaching out to any of the water companies that they regulate, and they've handed out, they've sent out letters. I'm going to give you a copy of the questionnaire that they have given their small water companies. In addition to that questionnaire is also another handout that we got from TUD, and that is about water conservation. That handout was Debbie Batista, our auditor controller, put that out with all of our paycheck stubs for both us and the courts last Friday. So we are trying to reach out as far as we can to inform and educate the public about what we can do to conserve within our own homes. In addition to having Department of Public Health and Department of Water Resources, we also had Rob Costlevy, who is our Environmental Health Director. He has been tagged as the county lead for these all the water companies, as well as our wells, our private wells, so that someone has, all of these individuals and companies have one primary focus that they can contact to get resources, and then he can reach out from there to gather what they need. He is also going to be here today to provide you a presentation on well types and how they recharge. During this meeting on Friday, the Water Task Force meeting, we did a roundtable, and it was good. The tenor of this meeting was very positive. The water companies, I seemed to be very thankful that we were pulling everyone together, that the resources were looking out and going through the rest of this period. And so as they went around the table, there were a lot who are also doing voluntary water conservation. There are a few, such as Del Oro, who are doing mandatory water conservation, and they are enforcing that as well. And today, I know Supervisor Royce had been contacted about a meeting in Merced for all the ag commissioners, and unfortunately, they were also wanting some local elected officials there. It was on a Tuesday, which, as we know, you guys are all in board meetings, but Vicki Helmar is there today. She is representing the county, and she will be speaking to the governor's task force about how the drought is affecting our ag here in our county. And then they will go forward and also discuss resources with each of those ag commissioners from the counties that are there today. And there is a further meeting that takes place after this private government-to-government meeting. So she will be back at the next board meeting, and she can give you an update as to what took place today. Furthermore, staff is also working with TUD, Twain Harte Community Services District, and the Miwok Tribe, and Lisa can kind of give you a little more details on that. But it's in a media campaign, so that we will begin, I believe, this month, and for public outreach, education, so that we can continue through the following months to inform and educate the public about what actions we are all taking and what they can do to assist during the drought. And then next is each year, our office, OES, hosts 2 meetings each year for the operational area. Operational area is comprised of all of our first responders and key supportive agencies. This year, our pre-fire meeting normally takes place in April, but due to the drought, I've moved that up a month, so we'll be meeting on the 11th. Can't remember what day that is. That's Tuesday. And we'll be meeting so that we can discuss what's happening now, inform, and also gather concerns from the group so that if we need additional resources, we can act on those now rather than later. And finally, also during that meeting, Roy Evans, our fire chief, was there, and he is interested in working very closely with all of our water companies and agencies in that as we go through the year, and if we have any fires, where can they begin pulling, and where his concern is at what point when they start pulling water will they begin impacting water companies' ability to provide water to their customers. So he's very interested in moving forward with each of those companies to begin, where's a primary focus that they can get water, where do they need to try to avoid, if they can, realizing that in a fire they're going to have to do what they can do to protect life and property. And then furthermore, today you will also have Tom Saja and Lisa Westbrook with Tuolumne Utilities District to provide you an update on the current drought and how it's affecting their systems. And with that, we'll have them come up.
Go ahead, John.
Tracy, just a quick question and comment. Obviously, you guys are really being proactive, and that's certainly appreciated. But on this drought preparedness checklist, this is designed as a self-help checklist. It's not something that the people are reporting back to the county on, or?
I'm sorry, I should have discussed that more. That checklist actually was sent out by Department of Public Health, California Department of Public Health, to all of the water companies. And yes, it is for them as they're going through to determine what level, where are they at, and will they need help. And some of them, not all of them have responded yet to the Department of Public Health, but they have been working with them, and they've already identified some who are looking at maybe being at risk of not making it through the entire year with enough water for their customers.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Just a comment. Tracy, you talked about CaliOS looking at the health of the groundwater systems. And we need to be very careful. A lot of businesses are dependent on, especially in this drought, on the availability of having that groundwater, and specifically our ag businesses. And so there's an awful lot of unknowns and some assumptions, it appears, that are entering the dialogue, and I just would caution us to be very careful when we're talking about groundwater. Individual owners of wells have to be responsible for being good users of that resource, much like they have to be responsible of protecting their resources from fire and all of those other things. And so it's going to, I guess I'm just putting out a flag of caution here. I have concerns when we talk about going in and private property owners need to be responsible for maintaining their own well capacity.
Right, and I agree with you, and we are being very careful how we approach this. We're also, the purpose of it really is to try and begin determining the health of the overall, the groundwater system, but also through media outreach that we'll be going through, getting that message out, not just for TUD customers, but everyone throughout the county in general, as to what do we all need to be doing to conserve. And we'll be reaching out. One of the things I forgot to mention was, as we go forward, was looking at doing not only the media outreach, but also doing community forums. And we've been talking about doing those, getting through March to determine how these current weather systems are affecting us. But much like we did in the Rim Fire, going out into different parts of our county to offer some of these forums so that we can answer questions and be there to, and as you will see with Rob when he starts talking about how wells are recharged, so that people know we all have a responsibility in conserving what we have, but also maintaining that. And just, we're being very careful, not asking them to come in and regulate, just to come in and help us assess. And they've been very clear with us that that's not their role at this point, that private wells are not regulated at the state level for that matter, and the water usage. Rob will be able to speak to more of that and answer some questions about what's happening in some of the other counties and what's been going, some of the concerns that they've had to deal with.
I just want to echo those concerns with what Supervisor Brendan was talking about. I also, when you talk about groundwater surveys and things, it raises a red flag with me, and it's a very serious area of concern because anytime there's a crisis, that's usually when big changes are made. Mm-hmm. And I think this is something that the state probably would like to do. And although we're happy to have help of OES or what emergency operations, whatever all the
OES,
acronyms are, still, what's that cliche? We're the government and we're here to help you. I think of that in the background. There's a question of trust and groundwater in Tuolumne County. There's a lot of people that seriously depend on it, and I don't want to go out and do a bunch of surveys and studies that are going to be used against our constituents at a later date. So, if there are future progressions in the type of information that they're asking for, or anything that has to do with that, would you bring that back to the board?
Absolutely. And the focus right now, just so you know, is not private well owners. It is
Companies.
Really, it's the small companies who have asked,
Yeah.
they specifically have asked us to help them out with this. TOD's even offered, there's sounders, and I don't know exactly what those things do, but they've offered that they have some so that people can, some of the wells are 800 feet deep. So really the focus is trying to assist our small water companies in what is the health of their current system, so that maybe as we go forward, trying to get them to reach out to us sooner rather than later. We don't want to know when they've run out of water. We need to know when they think they're getting low so that we can try and get them some resources.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's good. You're welcome.
All right. Morning, Tom.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Tom Shays, the Tuolumne Utilities District, and along with me, Lisa Westbrook. So, how are we doing? We got some rain. Feels real good. We're not out of the woods yet. That's probably my most important message for the day to the community, because we're already being asked that. Is this enough? Well, this chart shows you that 1977 we had about 15, 17 inches. As of this morning, we're pushing 11, so we have a ways to go. But this being the third dry year, we're starting to see the models that are used by PG&E to predict runoff in the watershed to not be as accurate as they normally have been. We're going to meet again with them tomorrow, but the verbal communication is when we're seeing storms, they would normally anticipate a certain amount of runoff, and they're not seeing that runoff to the magnitude that they're used to seeing. So they believe that the dryness of our watershed is consuming some of the water that normally would be running off this time of the year. That, with the higher than normal snow level, we're concerned about what the other thing we watch a lot is called the end of spill. When do these reservoirs fill and spill over, and when do they stop spilling over? And we have to go on inflow. Yes, sir.
The watershed models, I understand that and I appreciate that, but are those in the forest, or have they looked at the rimfire footprint and the difference? And the reason I'm asking the question is we all know that the forest is much more overgrown than it has been historically, and so its demand for water is greater, and perhaps that contributes. It's not a simple calculation, and the variables are significant.
What PG&E is monitoring is the watersheds that feed their hydroelectric plants, and that's what they have their history based upon.
So
forest.
I believe a contributing factor is the overgrowth of our forest. So I'm just adding that little comment.
Okay. So what we see next is how we stacking up for water supply. Last 2 years, we've made it with 20 to 22 inches of rain. This year, like I said, we're about 11. So if I were to pick a number, I would want at least another 10 or 12 inches of rain before I got real excited about saying we're getting close to the end. Normally, during this month of March, we receive about 5 inches of rain. So the March miracle may happen. I'll take that. And this chart, I don't know that we've showed you before. The point of it is that I just want to point out that we're not the only ones watching this. So we're looking at the Central Sierra here. These are various weather, flow monitoring and weather gauges. And you can see from the chart, the current year we're at 12.2 inches, and lowest on record is 14.8. So it'll really depend on how we do over the next month. And so what is predicted? What does NOAA think's going to happen? Well, this is, as of yesterday, this is a 6 to 10 day outlook. The white with the N on it, means normal. And the darker brown it gets, the less likely it's going to be normal. The probability increases. So you can see that we're somewhere in the 60 plus percentage range of being less than normal rainfall. And then when we look farther out, for the next 3 months, it pretty much shows for the next 3 months they expect it to be less than normal. Now, when we met with PG&E last time, they were anticipating having a normal February rainfall amount, which we essentially received, and then they were predicting roughly half of normal for the rest of the year. So that's how we've done our planning so far, and I really would like them to be wrong. But I don't think so at this point. And next we're going to look at, so how are we going to get there? You've seen this one before. The chart on the right shows our normal demand of about 16,500 acre feet out of the river system. We anticipate being able to conserve some of that with our customers. And then where we're going to get the water, the bottom portion of the graph on the left shows you your water that's in storage of a little over 7,000 acre feet. The remainder comes from snowpack, which is the next biggest group, our hopeful little green spot for rain. And then the red will be our transfers or new water supplies that we're going to bring online that we have not used in the past. And the district zones, so probably the areas that I would like to talk about today would be the middle zone here, where we're converting back to groundwater sources. The current owner of the Heritage West site, we've reached out to them. We have found their wells on their site, and we're in the process of developing them. So those are wells that have not been used, although we don't have good data on them. The well logs that we've seen, their initial volume of water potential for them is good. So we'll be activating those as long as they continue to test out. Tomorrow we'll be meeting with representatives from the State Department of Public Health. They're coming into the area to ask our help on another issue that they have. And then we'll be talking to them about our ditch domestics, because we're going to try to pipe some treated water to some of them as we look forward to turning off some of our ditches. We've already turned off our first one. That is in the Kabisu Basin. And we do not intend to turn on the Algerine ditch, and we're also considering not turning on the Phoenix ditch. So we've been developing alternative sources of water to SPI. We continue to have meetings with them to meet their needs. And then in the lower zone, the negotiations for water getting out of New Maloney's are progressing. That is continuing. I'll just say that's continuing and going well. There do not appear to be any stalls or hiccups either on a local, state, or federal level. Yesterday I met with the owners of the Limekiln Caverns, and we discussed some options, and they have one more partner they need to talk to, and that's what they plan to do and get back to me this week. I made it clear that we would like that project up and functioning by June 1st. And the third area, a source of supply for the lower zone, is the Melville well over here. That is a well that the county originally had, and we're in the process of constructing a treatment plant there that is, water is high in iron and manganese, so we're going to treat that. And those three sources should be a significant source of supply for our community. And do you have any more questions?
Just one, with the governor signing the drought bill, do you anticipate funds being available to UD for payoff for some of this work that you have to do?
I'm not totally familiar with the bill. From what we've seen, the short answer is yes, both through a couple of directions. Different departments I expect to be able to get money.
Okay, thank you.
And the other thing would be the public outreach. Lisa, would you speak to that?
Well, we are trying to reach out to our customers as much as possible. We did send out a notice to all of our customers about the mandatory water conservation, and we're going to be sending out a new notice, not only about that, but also we had the board recently approved a rate increase of 2.78%. So it's a combination. Anytime we're reaching out to them, we always want to enforce the water conservation restrictions. And then it's difficult for people to think about conserving when it's raining. We are working on a campaign, an advertising campaign with Twain Harte Community Services District and some other agencies. So I'm hoping to forward that information to Craig and Tracy soon. Thinking of launching that in the middle of March when it will likely right now be about 70 degrees, and that's when it starts warming up, we really need people to conserve. But as I was saying, it is difficult for people to get in that frame when they see rain. So we are working on various ways to reach out to the customers, and I do think that doing the public forums maybe in April, we can work with Tracy and Craig on scheduling some of that. But I think that'd be a great partnership between us and the county to get that message out.
The signs are good too. I don't know if you've seen the ones at Twain Harte.
Yes.
Makes
yes.
you think.
They
Yeah.
have it's been awesome. I've been working with them as well. They have a volunteer graphic artist that came up with those campaigns with speaking with Tom Trott. And so we're hoping to use them too for our advantage. So.
Cool. Thank you. Any other questions? Public comment? Bring it back to the board. There you get a motion. Oh, come on up, Rob. You're not getting off that easy. Looks like you had to trim the beard. Had an occurrence then, huh?
So, real quick, while Rob's getting ready, I did forget to mention a couple things, and those two items are, I continue to work with John Sterling, as you know, who's over in Groveland Community Services District. It's a little more difficult for him to get over here for the meetings, but he does, I hear from him at least twice a week, if not phone calls, late night texts, or emails. And he did let us know that he continues to work with San Francisco PUC, and they've not updated what they've been doing. They're currently asking for 10% voluntary conservation over in that area. And he says that they've been performing community outreach information on the web and at their office. And the other individual that was unable to make it but reached out to me was Tom Trott with Twain Harte Community Services District. And he just wanted me to also let you know that their board has renewed their 50% mandatory water conservation, and that they have continued to look at their system. And one of those things that is making a significant difference is, he says, we've upgraded our water treatment plant recycling to recycle about 3.5 million gallons of water more per year than they were already doing. And they're also continuing to develop several existing wells within the district to try and supplement what they would be getting from TUD, so that maybe they can be a little more self-reliant if possible. So he just wanted me to relay that and make sure that you guys were aware of the actions that each of these other districts are taking.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chair, Board. Rob Koslevy, Environmental Health. I was asked a few weeks ago to put together a presentation in regards to the types of wells that we have in Tuolumne County. And to actually do it correctly, it would take quite a bit of time, hours, potentially weeks. There's courses in college devoted an entire semester to this. So what you're going to get today is the Cliff Notes of Cliff Notes.
That's all we want.
So today what we want to cover is, first of all, what is an aquifer? The different types of wells, well construction, and actually we're probably going to hold off on the well construction. We'll do that the next go around. Static level. Wells are two-way conduits, and we have two case studies, one in Tuolumne and one in Colusa, and then conservation. And at any time, please, if there's any questions, just let me know and I'll try to answer those. Well, to start off with, we need to talk about the water cycle. Now, I gotta get my pointer out. As it is right now, or at least this morning, we are, it's not really showing up. we were in the precip part of the water cycle. So essentially, water is better. Okay, so water is actually precipitating from the sky, drops down to our land, and it has two places to go. It's either going to go underground where it infiltrates, or it's going to hit the creeks, rivers, and streams, and eventually make its way back to the ocean, and where it's evaporated, and the whole thing starts all over again. Basic water cycle 101. Well, an aquifer. You know, if you actually look at the Webster's Dictionary definition, it's a layer of permeable rock, sand, or gravel through which groundwater flows, containing enough water to supply wells and springs. Now, there are two types of aquifers that we see. One of them is an alluvial type of aquifer that is typically found in the valley basin. That is essentially where you have sand. And a great way to really visualize what an alluvial aquifer would look like is imagine a bathtub. And if you fill that bathtub halfway full with water, halfway filled with sand, and anywhere you put a straw, you would actually get the same amount of water flow. And here's our example of our alluvial well analogy. So you have, just like I said, anywhere you drop down, you're going to get the same amount, but it's all contained in one specific area. Now that's in contrast to what you would see up here in the foothills. Is we have hard rock, and you know that type of well is a fractured rock well. And taking an analogy, take that same bathtub, take that same amount of water, and imagine placing tightly spaced bricks in there. The same amount of water is actually present in that bathtub. However, the only time that you can get that water is if you hit the grout lines. So, same amount of water, and the only way you're going to hit it is if you hit a certain grout line. And this is typically what we have up here. I don't know of anywhere in Tuolumne County that you would see an alluvial type, unless it's right towards the border of right by Stan County, you know, in the Oakdale area. So side-by-side comparison, you can kind of see the difference. So if someone was pumping 100 gallons a minute here, you could expect 100 gallons a minute here. Same thing if it went in the center. It's going to be pretty consistent. In a fractured rock well, it's not consistent. You could have one neighbor have a certain amount of gallons per minute, 100 feet away, completely different. Now, this is my cartoon drawing of a fractured rock well. So essentially, you see these little lines going across. These are representing fractures. So everywhere this well is drilled, wherever there's a fracture, it's going to infiltrate that well space with groundwater. This right here is a very important component of wells. Just like I mentioned, you could have a neighboring well that's drilled the same depth, and you will not find the same type of well yield, because this well right here has many fractures. This one has very few. And you can see the water level is actually quite low, and even though it's connected to this one, it's still quite low because of the static level. And a good example of that is everyone has used a straw before. So right now, my water level in my straw is exactly where the water level is. So if I were to drink it down to half of this, that water level in my straw is going to drop down. So that's where these fractures are occurring, and that's where the static level is. This is another example of what a static level should look like. And right here, this is what we typically see. And then if you go up anywhere, like even in Spring Valley, not Spring Valley, that one. Anyway, there's a road in the county that is named after a spring, and essentially you have a static level right here, and that's where you get your natural springs at. So some areas are, if you have fractures in granite, that typically holds quite a bit of water to some extent, And if you have greenstone, that's going to hold less. So if you go towards the south part of the county, you're going to see less well yields. Before I get to this subdivision in Tuolumne County, I want to give you an example of what's going on in the valley. Some of you might know that before I came to work in Tuolumne County, I was the director of Colusa County Environmental Health. And one of my buddies just became director in January, and he's been contacting me and asking me what's going on with the water. And so I had him pull up all of his well data. And so in 2013 in Colusa County, they had 154 wells for the entire year. In January of this year, they're already at 71. That's a huge increase. And, you know, talking with him, asking, well, are these domestic wells? Are these ag wells? What's going on? And he's like, no. Almost 95% of them are ag wells that are going dry, and they have to re-drill them. And just if you look at that bathtub analogy, that one in the alluvial area, if you have a bunch of wells pumping the same amount, it's going to run dry, and it's going to have a very hard time to recharge. Any questions so far? Okay, this right here is a very small subdivision in Tuolumne County. And this is roughly a 30-acre subdivision, so really small. And the item that we really want to show is, like for instance, this well right here produces roughly, it's a 700-foot well and approximately 6 gallons a minute. This well right here, 300 feet deep, and that's producing 150 gallons a minute. This well right here, and all this is in fractured rock, 3 gallons a minute. These wells on this property, they've already gone dry, they had to drill 2. Same thing right here, there's 2 wells right here. And then these wells vary. And what I had our GIS, Larry Bile, construct is this type of maps where we can take all of our well data and start inputting it. And this is that same subdivision, so you can see how deep these wells are actually going in relationship. So you're looking at the underground area, so you have a 1,000-foot well right here, and that's only producing a couple of gallons a minute compared to the shallow wells that are actually producing 300. So the deeper you go, the fractures become less prominent. So on conservation, TUD has a great flyer on how to conserve water. You know, one of the things is wash not on a like say there's laundry day, it might be Saturday. Wash 1 load a day. Spread it out over the week. Install water efficient clothes washers. Use gray water. I installed a gray water system at my house, and I'm diverting 71,000 gallons of water to my plants. So that's something that is fantastic that we can easily do. In the kitchen, run the dishwasher when it's full. Don't just do half full. You know, soak your pots and pans. Wash dishes by hand is another good way to go. In the bathroom, I think we're all guilty for wanting to take a hot shower. So a lot of times what we do is you let the water run until the water gets hot. You know, you can plug up your shower, let the water run, and then catch it and then take it outside and water your plants with it. If you spill an ice cube, something as simple as an ice cube, pick it up, put it in a potted plant. You know, that way you're utilizing it. And it's moving in a way that we can conserve that. Any questions?
Yeah, Rob, good presentation. Very simple, but easy to understand. You know, we're in seams and fractures in this well, and sometimes going deeper isn't always better. But we do have an couple alluvial basins in Tuolumne County, in the South County. It's Casabal Meadow and Big Creek Meadow. Those are caused by volcanic bathtub, same principle you have there. So you can put them on your list.
Okay. Yeah. Well, typically, where you'd see the alluvial type, just like you mentioned, is anywhere there is a volcanic area, and that's that's typically where you'd have a large meadow as well. That's where these would manifest itself.
Yeah, just a quick comment, because I want to get back to kind of what Supervisor Hanfeld was talking about earlier with the forest. And I know it's different from here, but we keep flirting around this conversation. And I was at a meeting up in Sacramento last Thursday, and it was about water and what the capacity is on the forest and what we're using and what the long-term forecast is for, what deficiencies will be kind of statewide, long-term. And we're talking about over the next 50 years, looking at 12 to 15% water, less available water in the form of precipitation. But then they also looked at healthy forest and said there was an equal offset. It was 10% of water coming down through the aquifers, if you will, with a healthy forest and not being watering this overabundant tree stand. And so at some point, and I know it doesn't get at what we're talking about right now with the emergency, but we've got to get in an action plan that gets at that, because it really is offsetting to a large degree. And as we're looking at these historic long-term potential decreases, we have the availability to capture more water on that forest. And again, we keep just flirting around this conversation, and we haven't seen significant action out there. So it has got to be part of the solution.
I agree with you on that. With the large canopy cover that the forest has, it is blocking essentially water recharge that could essentially miss the canopy, hit the ground, and make its way into the fractured rocks and recharge our wells and other parts of our water system.
Well, and you had your straw analogy. You have 300 straws to an acre sucking up water instead of a healthy 120.
Yeah.
Transpo evaporation.
Now the one other thing, I was anticipating this question is essentially what does our well permits look like over the last 4 years? So in 2011, we had 43 overall permits, 31 new, 4 repairs, 8 destruction permits. 2012, we had an increase, 57 permits. 2013, we've had 64. And remember, these are all dry years. Now we're coming up to 2014. We've already issued 19, 16 new, and we have 5 more that are about ready to be submitted. So if we continue with this rate, we're looking at 120. So you can see there's a big trend right now.
Are the repairs pumps, or are those re-drilling them?
Deepenings?
Deepening?
Yeah.
I guess part of the message of this is, we're trying to make sure we have a mechanism to provide information, referral services to those small water companies that are well dependent, to assist them, but this is also to help educate the public on how this works, but also for the private, well owners to understand how the system works. We want them to pay attention as well, to conserve, where they can, and to realize, again, as we share the same resource, and they may be thinking, well, it's just my property, I'm not affecting anybody else. It can affect others around them. So it's a call to stewardship, as Supervisor Brennan has commented. Everyone in the county, whether a TUD customer, GCSD, Twain Hart, the small water companies and private well users, everyone needs to conserve at this time.
And I'd say do us a favor and don't dry up the aquifer. That way the state doesn't come in and try to help us.
Right.
Now, one of environmental health's duties is not to regulate the private well owners, it's to educate them. So any opportunity that we can have, that's our main goal, is education. We don't want a situation where a crisis dictates new regulation. That's not something we're pushing for.
I know we're not locally, but there are those that probably would. You guys work pretty closely with the local well drillers?
Yes.
So they're probably helping carry that message too, I'm sure.
Yes.
So that's a good thing. All right, any other public comments? Bring it back to the board, get a motion on this thing.
I move we continue the state of emergency.
All right, motion second. We'll call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 4-0. Thank you very much for those presentations. Appreciate it. All right, could the clerk please read item 9?
Consideration of endorsing the fiscal year 2014-15 preliminary budget estimate for the Tuolumne County Economic Development Authority.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, real quick, February 14th, the Economic Development Authority's board did approve tentatively next year's fiscal year budget. Part of the process built into our joint powers agreement is for that proposed budgets to come to the city and the county for review and comment first. And then ultimately, we're looking for an endorsement that the EDA can take back and use as the basis of their budget hearing process. This year, the budget is at the same level as last year, just a slightly higher share to the county, and that's just based on a change in the calculations of assessed value and taxable sales. That's how we set the thing up. That would be reviewed annually. So same base, we have a slightly higher share, but it's less than $1,200 increase to the county. And Mr. Cope is here to answer questions and share some thoughts.
Yes. Larry Cope, Tuolumne County Economic Development Authority's director. We are at, again, as Craig has said, the same budget as we were at last year, as I promised. We have moved the numbers around within that, and of course, as Craig has said, the percentage changes as we review the numbers every year, every 2 years, as the percentage of sales tax and property tax. No big movements on the numbers other than some things on marketing and professional services. Some of that ties into finishing up in this budget year the launching of the Innovation Lab that we are now calling the Knowledge Lab. Most of that should be finalized by the end of this budget year. And then also setting up some of our original promotional materials as we start going out and recruiting. The board has set up that about 60% of staff time will now be focused on recruiting as we've kind of grown into that, as we've made sure that our existing businesses are as stable as we can help them with. So we will split our time between existing businesses, recruitment, and also high-end entrepreneurship, which is tied into our Knowledge Lab and our angel and venture capital funds. I'm here for any further questions on the budget if you have specific ones.
Just a comment and a question. Comment as you continue to manage a really tight budget, and that's certainly appreciated because money's hard to come by. You do a good job. But could you go over on your memorandum, the third paragraph, what that means for the rest of the board members? I'm fortunate enough to sit on the TCEDA board, so I've been indoctrinated by Mr. Cope on that. And
Yes. Yes. Sorry, the third paragraph. Yes, we on an ongoing basis to help the Central Sierra Economic Development District out a couple years ago to help kind of keep that federal EDA entity up. We stepped in at the last minute and was able to help them keep it up and operational. We have ended, or our contract will end June 30th of this year. We have had discussions at our own board, and I've been motioned to move forward to continue that contract. That contract actually has a 3-year extension in that. A couple unknowns at this particular budget time, though, is whether or not the board will approve the final contract. Number 2, if the Central Sierra Economic Development District will approve the contract extension, and whether or not we'll actually get funding from the EDA. EDA, the Department of Commerce's Economic Development Administration, generally takes almost until May to get their funding lined up, and we generally don't get the funding until almost June, as most things are with dealing with the federal government. So with that, we did not put any of those potential revenues in there. And then last year's revenues, there's still costs that may be associated against those that will then change what our end of the year budget is for this year, in addition to any outside funding that comes into the entity also runs through the board, and then the board decides where those funds are applied to. So that process still will happen, and it will be finalized by our public hearing in May. So.
Thank you.
Mr. Cope, you left out a little important piece of the equation, and that is not only did you take over management, if you will, of the Central Sierra Economic Development District, but you saved it, and because of that, the history is we did get some increased funding from the federal government. So unless things change and they cut us off, we would anticipate that they will continue to fund that. And it offers us regional economic development exposure and opportunities. So it's a good deal if we can maintain that operation. Good thing for Tuolumne County. It's a good thing to be in leadership of that. So that's the plus side of that side of the equation.
And I would agree with that. You know, we're not a lone ship here. We're influenced by our neighboring counties, and the more we can do to work together, the better off we can be. So, only other thing, I was remiss on the award discussion that we had. I just wanted to also give credit to the Board of Supervisors here, Craig and the administration, and also the county staff. One of the highlights of when you guys won the award, they loved the dashboard, of being able to track, you know, where are you guys at on each project? Are we meeting our goals? The dashboard was one of the things that they pulled out from talking to some of the people who graded the actual awards, that they would like to apply in their own community. So I just wanted to bring that up. And then Tom's not here, but I wanted to give him credit on a lot of one-on-one working with some of our business owners through this drought that we've been going through. But I just wanted to add those two on to the end of my budget presentation. And I also have a promotional thing that we are using in our recruitment here that maybe after you guys have discussion on the budget, I would like to hand out to the board here. So.
Thanks, Larry. All right. Is there any other questions? If not, I'll ask, is there any public comment? I'm going to bring it back. I want to make a quick comment. I just want to thank you for all of your efforts and all the work that you do. I think it's, for as long as I can remember, been a major priority of the board to pursue economic development as a solution to a lot of the revenue problems and things that we have. Instead of just going after people's pockets, we want to actually create prosperity in the community, and you're a huge component to that. And it's a priority, and I think it will continue to be a priority with this board. So thank you. And with that, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we endorse the fiscal year 2014-15 preliminary budget for Tuolumne County Economic Development Authority.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Not a call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, one handout here real quick.
All right, thank you.
I'd just say I
Now you're
think
paying
Larry
us
is
off,
like
is
the
that what you're doing?
Energizer Bunny, and he just doesn't quit.
I will give a little explanation here, just so people are wondering what we have here. I'll also shoot it for the camera.
This isn't a bribe, is it?
No.
Okay.
This is
Just
a
make sure.
promotional item, and I expect you to give this to a business that you plan to recruit to the community.
Okay.
Basically what this is, and I've been using this at our tech shows and some of the shows that I've been going to, whenever you're at a meeting, of course, you always need a pen. So you twist the end of it, and you get a nice pen. But when also you're at a meeting, you also need to do presentations. So it gives you the nice laser pointer. But, you know, if you're going to do presentations, you always have to carry those files with you. So within the pen is a 2-gigabyte flash drive that you can
Alright.
store your files. And they're already preloaded with information about Tuolumne County. And depending on the project, we will put certain incentive information, we'll put certain property information as we actually hand them to the individual clients. So I encourage you to enjoy these and give those to a business who's going to come and move to Tuolumne County, and I'll give you another pin if you do that. So thank you
Cool.
very much.
Thank you. All right.
I think the sheriff is looking for one of those.
Yeah, you look jealous. Are they for sale?
Yes, we could probably arrange.
Generate some revenue that way? All right. Could the clerk please read item 10?
Consideration of accepting the annual report on the growth in government expenses and revenue fund for fiscal year 2011, 12, and 12, 13.
All right, staff report.
Good morning, Daniel Richardson, Deputy County Administrator.
Before you, we have the annual growth in government expenditures and revenue report for fiscal years 2011-12 and 12-13. This is a report on all you have 4 different pots of money, 4 different funds where your Geiger funds go to. And so this just gives you the report on how those funds were received and how are they spent. So if you look at your chart, the attachment, I do want to make one correction just to go through each of these 4 funds. Your capital fund, we spent all of those funds that were received on the Law and Justice Center EIR, the Environmental Impact Report, and debt service for that property. The operations fund, you might, I want to make one correction there. It does show in the first year that we ended with a fund balance of $26,000 and change. In reality, all that money was spent. That should be 0. That is one correction. The others, administration, small amount, $4,600 and $900. That is all accurate. And then the fire fund, that money has not been spent. That is being saved to go towards the purchase of a future fire engine. And one note, the operations fund will no longer receive any money. As a result of your last Geiger fee adoption, you amended it with the county council's opinion that we'll no longer be able to collect the operational portion of the Geiger fee. So with that, that's your annual report.
Staff question, go.
Could you, for the benefit of the public, just mention where these funds, how they're collected, and where they're collected from?
Sure. Yeah, Geiger funds are growth impact fees that are collected when a new residential construction permit is pulled from the county, and this is purely for county operations. There are other growth impact fees that go towards traffic and for schools, but this is just the county government portion of that.
And we don't collect the school fees?
We do not.
Right. Other questions? I have one. When was the EIR for the Law and Justice Center done?
Bev said it 2009.
2009. How come we paid for it out of, the 11-12 budget?
The monies that were spent in 11, 12, 12, 13 were primarily for infrastructure or debt service for the land.
Oh, okay, so it says /EIR.
There-
It wasn't, that component wasn't the
There was
EIR.
there was some mitigation that was done. I think that's what that's
wetland.
referring to, some mitigation
Okay.
called for in the EIR.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, thank you. Any other questions? Public comment? Bring it back to the board.
No action?
Oh, is this, do we have to approve this, or?
We have to accept.
Yeah, I need a motion to approve the report, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to accept the annual report on the growth in government expenses revenue funds for fiscal years 2011 to 12 and 2012-13.
Second.
All right, motion second on the floor. Any discussion? Call for the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Carries 4-0. Thanks, Daniel. All right, could you please read 11?
Consideration of adopting a resolution approving the 2013 through 15 Tuolumne County Employee OE3 Unit Memorandum of Understanding.
Staff report.
I'm Ann Prem, Human Resources Manager. Before you today is the 2013-2015 Tuolumne County Employees OE3 Memorandum of Understanding. We did spend some substantial time negotiating this contract this year. We had negotiations, we had mediation, and we had fact-finding. However, both sides have finally come to an agreement. The major changes to the MOU are all Tier 1 and Tier 2 classic employees for PERS have agreed to contribute 6.25% of share of employer costs for PERS. The county will continue to pay the 7% employee contribution for Tier 1 PERS and will start paying the 7% contribution for Tier 2. There will be, upon approval of the PERS contract, all members receive a 1% salary adjustment in year 1 and a 2% salary adjustment on July 1st, 2014. During furlough years, vacation caps were increased to accommodate people for the additional leave they were required to take off because of furlough. So we have negotiated a mechanism to slowly reduce those caps for the first portion of the first fiscal year of the contract. The cap will be reduced to 2.5 times as of 7/1/14, and by the beginning of the end of next fiscal year, they'll be back down to their regular 2 times cap. Cafeteria plans, the rates were capped at the 08-09 contribution rates. Family medical leave eligibility period was reduced from 6 months to 12 weeks, though that's in line with federal law. We have recognized a pay differential that's available to employees who receive certificates and training through specialized courses that make them better at their jobs, but it's not it can't be a certificate that's required to have the position. And there will all language changes that were put in the MOUs to reduce during furlough for there was a voluntary pay reduction in furlough hours. All that language has been removed from the MOU. So staff is recommending your board approve the Tuolumne County Employees OE3 Memorandum of Understanding.
All right, thank you. Questions? All right, public comment? Bring it back to the board for discussion and a motion.
I'm ready to make a motion that we approve the memorandum of understanding with the employees of OE3, and also want to thank the employees for everybody coming together on this.
Second.
All right, and I would agree it's important to show our appreciation to the employees and show that we're glad to reach an agreement. So with that, I will call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Thanks, Ann. Okay, could the clerk please read item 12?
Consideration of adopting a resolution authorizing the intent to amend a contract with the California Public Employees Retirement System related to cost sharing with the safety employees.
Yeah, Ann Friend, HR Manager. During negotiations this year, the county asked for the employees to share in a portion of the cost of PERS, and all of the units have agreed. PERS has a multiple-step process on amending PERS contracts. So before you today is step 1 for amending the safety contract. I just handed down the dais a corrected memo. I did a couple typos in the dates, so I'm going to walk you through where the changes are. Step 1 is today, the approval of the resolution of intent to approve the amendment to the contract. If that is approved today, tomorrow we begin voting for all classic safety members. That will run for a 2-week period, and on the 19th we will count the votes. It's important to point out that we must have 50% plus 1 of all the classic members, which is all Tier 1 and Tier 2 employees, say yes to this vote for this change to become effective. Assuming that the vote is successful, I will be back on April 1st for the first reading of an ordinance that's required by PERS to amend the contract. Then you'll get to see me on April 15th for a second reading. The ordinance would then become effective May 1st, and on May 4th is the effective date of the contract. So all PERS Classic Safety members begin paying 6.25% of the employer's share of costs, and in exchange for that, the members receive a 6.5% salary adjustment. Attached is the resolution. That's there's 2 versions. There's the PERS version and the county version, both of which are required to make this change. And it is recommended that your board approve the resolution of intent to approve an amendment to the contract between the Board of Supervisors and CalPERS Board.
Just a quick point of clarification for the audience. So the salary adjustment will not happen if the PERS contract is not ratified, correct?
Correct.
And also, if I understand it correctly, if you don't vote, that will be counted as a no vote.
Yes, that is a PERS rule. So We have ballots that'll be going out to every safety member. They're all sitting sealed on my desk right now, ready to go out later today, so the voting can start tomorrow. If we do not receive a vote, it is automatically considered a no vote by PERS. So we're really urging everybody to vote. As a result, we have allowed absentee ballots, so everybody has the opportunity to mail back their ballot, or they can drop their ballot off at the DSA dispatch at the Sheriff's Department, or our elections window will also have a voting box for people to drop ballots off in person.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Ann, can I just ask one clarification?
Yes.
The May 4th date, effective date of the amendment, normally ordinances go into effect 30 days after the second reading. So I just want to make sure we're on the same page about.
When I spoke with PERS, the timeline that's listed here was the timeline they gave us for the effective date. So if it's
Okay.
she said read the first meeting, it can be effective May 1st.
Okay, thank
Okay?
you.
What happens if it doesn't pass?
I'll just weigh into that, because this obviously was an important part of our budget balancing, strategies. As the board has already acknowledged, we always have appreciated the cooperation of our labor groups. This is a very important part of that process. We've approved MOUs. Now we have to have this vote. If we do not get a positive vote, then we're going to have a hole in our budget, and this board will need to revisit your budget.
What happens to the MOUs?
The MOUs, the other components of the MOUs will still go into effect, but there's the two big things about cost, sharing of PERS and pay increases will not, but that will create a problem, in our budget, and we'll need to revisit that since our.
So the language is attached to the COLAs, basically?
The language is still, that's approved, and that's going to go into effect no matter what. It's the cost sharing, PERS cost sharing, and the salary increase, that's tied together.
And as far as future attempts to pursue it, if it did fail, how, are there protocols for that, or are there timelines?
I actually haven't asked PERS what happens if the vote fails. I don't know if I can meet with the bargaining unit again to say, do we want to try it again, go through all the PERS steps? I will address that with them, but I would assume if it fails is kind of their opinion, and we'd have to do what we need to do to either try it again or to make the cuts to the budget accordingly.
Okay. Any other questions? Public comment? Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve the resolution to amend the PERS contract.
A second.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Carries 4-0. Thanks, Ann.
You're welcome.
Could the clerk please read item 13?
Consideration of approving the minimum wage increase for multiple relief classifications in the Recreation Department for the summer recreation programs.
Okay, before you is a suggestion on increasing minimum wage. It actually was a suggestion by Governor Brown when he signed it into law on September 25th. Yes. A legal suggestion, I guess, would be phrased. So effective July 1st, minimum wage goes up to $9 an hour. It's currently at $8. And a second increase is effective on January 1st, 2016, which brings minimum wage up to $10 an hour. The immediate need for this was to deal with our summer recreation program classifications, many of them that made under $8 an hour. So we took the lowest paid position in the summer rec program, which is the recreation leader, and we moved that person up to the minimum of $9 an hour for the A step. All the other classifications affected by this change include senior rec leader, program coordinators, lifeguards, lifeguard water safety instructors, assistant pool manager, and aquatics program coordinator. They have all changed too. We have applied the standard rules for range differentials that are included in all of our MOUs to these classifications. And attached to the memo is suggestion is attachment A, which is the ranges effective July 1st, and then attachment B, which are the ranges effective January 1st, 2016. There may be potential impacts to other county departments when the minimum wage goes to $10 an hour. We haven't studied that yet, but whatever does need to be brought back to the board to talk about that will be done at a later date. The budgeted funds for these programs will be included in the budgets for those fiscal years since they have not been submitted yet. And it is recommended that your board approve the range changes as detailed on these attachments so we can comply with the law and make the minimum wage changes effective July 1st and subsequently January 1st, 2016 for these affected classes.
Questions?
I think it's a good idea we comply with the governor's suggestion.
Okay.
I'll make that motion when you're ready.
And I just had a quick one. So not only are the minimum wage levels going up, but because of MOUs and pay differential schedule or whatever, it drives up basically everything.
Everybody, right. When you're a rec leader and you become a senior rec leader, you make more money, you have more responsibility.
Yeah.
So when the rec leader's amount goes up, everybody above that person does too, including the person that's overseeing the program. Same with the lifeguards. When a lifeguard makes this, a water and safety instructor has a higher level of responsibility and more training, so.
And we're looking at, what was it, 11,000 the first year and then 15,000 the second?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how that's going to affect our other across the board type of?
The initial increase isn't going to be that big of a deal. The $10 an hour increase, it's kind of going to depend on, there's going to be more classifications affected, but it's an internal structure and equity issue. So,
Yeah.
We have office assistants that are full-time benefited positions that are going to be
Closer
knocking
to that
against
without-
that. So do we want to maintain the structure as it currently exists? And it's kind of a major
You don't have
wage
any
study.
kind of a guesstimate on a dollar figure?
No, couldn't even begin. I mean,
Okay.
it could be really cheap or it could be really major, depending what the board directs us to do as far as wage salary surveys and all that stuff.
Thank you. Public comment? Mr. Hambelt?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move on staff recommendation and comply with the governor's suggestion.
Second.
I thought you were a rebel, Randy. All right. Motion second. Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Clerk, please read 14.
Reconsideration of sending correspondence seeking additional program and facility funding related to the AB 109.
Staff report.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, it was back in January when I brought to you an item to see if you wanted to support the idea of the Chief Executive Officer of L.A. County encouraging all California counties to join in requesting an increase in state funding to allow better management, treatment, and appropriate housing of AB 109 clients. I left in your staff report a chart that shows shows that we're getting a diminishing percentage of the savings that the state's experiencing by shifting the responsibilities from the state to local government. At that meeting, your board said, yeah, let's go ahead and prepare a letter asking the governor to consider giving us a greater amount of funding. After that, I met with representatives from each of those departments, asking the affected departments, asking them to collect data reflecting the most important indicators of AB 109 impacts and analysis of what the data indicated, the impacts to be, and what resources were needed to mitigate those negative impacts. In your packet, you have a comment from some language from Dr. Stolp talking about increasing average inmate census, increase in chronic medical illness that's occurring in the jail. There's also a memorandum from Steve Boyack and Rita Austin with the Human Services Agency talking about behavioral health impacts, facilities management. Just a comment as to what they're seeing, which is not a lot right now directly related to AB 109. But then notably from the Sheriff Coroner and your Chief Probation Officer, they have concerns about proceeding with the letter, and that it could have a negative impact if sent to the governor right now. And that's feedback they're getting directly from the governor and some of his key lieutenants. It's been pointed out that the county has received a $20 million SB 1022 grant, and the feedback that we're getting are from some of the people that have been instrumental in helping us, get those grants. So what I've been asked to do is bring this back to your board to reconsider whether or not you would really want to send that correspondence, or at least send it at this time. So that's the item before you. So what is your pleasure? I do see the sheriff's in the audience, and Rita Austin is in the audience as well.
I think those are valid points. Does anybody have any questions about it?
No questions, just a comment.
Okay.
Because I find it really frustrating that the state is going to, be having these savings and not passing some of those down to counties. Having said that, I do respect the opinion of Sheriff Mealy and Chief Arnold, and really feel like we need to stay focused on getting that jail built.
Yeah, and maybe when we get the money, we can send a letter.
Yeah, timing is important.
Timing, yeah.
Public comment? Make it quick.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Jim Mealy, Sheriff. The reason why I sent the email back to Mr. Pedro in that fashion was we need to also remember that legislatively this money was already in place. And so the governor and his staff felt that they are getting pulled by, you talked about the drought this morning, you talked about health services. There are multiple problems that the state is incurring at this point. The governor is very sympathetic. What I don't want to happen is take the $20 million and that's all we get. And we have an opportunity for AB 900 money that's still out there. We need their help. So maybe today is not the right time to fight this battle. Let's live for another day and come back and regroup. One of the things that my lieutenant said is they said, Sheriff, you hired me to be your lieutenant, to be your staff. I will tell you the things that you do not want to hear. And that's what I am telling you today. Some things that you may not want to hear. And I think that's our job, is to tell those that make some decisions the truth and what we may not want to hear. And then it's up to us to make those decisions. So that's my standpoint on it. I've talked to Mike Knowles on it, also the DA, and also Chief Arnold. And that's where I can't actually speak for all of them, but since they're not here, but that is the sentiment that's coming across.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Bring back to board, and I'll start with just discussion and say, makes sense. You don't ask for money with this hand and slap them with this one. So, get a motion?
So are we looking at a motion to table this?
Reconsider. Yeah.
Well, I'd make a motion that we not send the letter at this time.
I'll second it.
All right. Motion second. And I'll just add, if we get the money, then we can talk about it. So, all right. Any other discussion? Call for question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 4-0. Thank you. All right. Item 15. Clerk.
Consideration of awarding the Community Development Block Grant Consulting Services Agreement with Cox Consulting.
Okay, and before we get started, I am going to recuse myself just to be safe, even though Sarah said I had the option, but I don't want to take any chances based on Government Code Section 87-100.
Plus, you probably need a snack. You're probably hungry, right?
Yes.
Okay. Staff report?
Sure. Maureen Frank, Deputy County Administrator. I'm here before you today to talk to you about consulting services for our Community Development Block Grant Program. Tuolumne County has participated in CDBG activities since 1982. We've been lucky enough to get several different kinds of grants and do a lot of variety of programs and community services throughout the county with these funds. Traditionally, the county has always contracted out for these services. Our current agreement with Cox Consulting expired this past week, and so in preparation for that termination of our current agreement, staff went out with an RFP this past December to look for people and consultants who wanted to provide various CDBG services for us. Those services include community service and programs, community development, economic development, and small business loan portfolio management type of activities. The RFP was sent out to over 22 consultants. It went out to some exchanges. It went and was advertised in the newspaper. At the conclusion of the bid, the county only received one proposal, and that was from Cox Consulting. Just to make sure that I was doing my due diligence as far as sending out the RFP and we had gotten to the right people, I went out and contacted roughly 14 out of the 22 consultants that I had sent it out to find out why they didn't submit a proposal to us. I wanted to make sure the RFP was clear and that we had the right things in it, just to make sure. In talking to them, they came back, the 14 people that I talked to, came back with really three areas of concern that they had. One, they felt that they didn't have the internal resources at this point in time to submit a proposal to us, that they didn't want to spend the time nor the resources when most likely we already had an internal, what they felt was an internal consultant already that we enjoyed and that we liked. Two, they didn't feel that they could do a good job providing services to Tuolumne County, being the rural nature of it, considering where their offices were. They didn't think they could respond quickly enough to businesses, could talk to the community agencies, things like that. Third, a lot of them were, quite frankly, downsizing their organization and weren't looking at taking on any new business. So those were kind of the three reasons why other people did not submit proposals. Then, because the funding for this contract comes from the state, I contacted the Department of Housing and Community Development and asked them to approve a procurement process, our procurement process, and allow us to get a sole source designation for this procurement. On February 14th, the county was granted this request, and a copy of that letter is included in your board packets. The agreement before you today for your consideration is a one year with the ability of 2 1-year extensions. The amount paid to the consultant will depend on the grants that we have out there that we decide to apply for and the activities that we have. County Council has reviewed and approved the agreement before you, and I'm wholeheartedly recommending that your board authorize the award of the CDBG consulting agreement to Cox Consulting and ask the county administrator to sign, and also ask you to authorize the county administrator to sign any amendments to this agreement. On a personal note, I've worked with Terry for the 19 years that I've been here in the county, and it is tremendous what she does for us. She's kind of a quiet, behind-the-scenes kind of person, but when you look at businesses, one of the reasons that we have Evergreen Lodge and working with them and having the over-counter agreement with them was because of all of Terry Cox's work and tenacious activities that she did with HCD. She's now currently working with the owners of Evergreen again to do another project, and that's the Rush Creek project that's been before you. The community projects from Head Starts programs to the food bank to Meals on Wheels. She's your advocate out there and really gets going with the nonprofit organizations and works with them and talks to them frequently about their needs and their concerns. And I couldn't have asked for a better advocate up there at the state. HCD, as you know, as you guys look at me and say, why can't we have consistent rules and consistent ways of applying for grants? Why are the rules always changing? Well, I count on Terry to really get in there and be part of the decision-making process as much as the state will allow us to advocate on behalf of rural counties and making those rules a little more understandable and a little more applicable to what our needs are. So with that, I'm here to answer any questions you have on this agreement.
Any questions from the board? Any public comment? Okay, my comment is, we've been very successful. We've had a good relationship. It makes sense to stay where we're at. So I'll be called for a motion.
Move on staff recommendation.
A second.
First and second, any comment on the motion? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Royce, you can come back.
Thank you.
Take a 5-minute
5-minute break.
All right, we're back. Could the clerk please read our next agenda item? 16.
Consideration of approving correspondence on the financial impacts of the special designation release related to the yellow-legged frog and the Yosemite toad.
All right. Daniel.
Good morning, Daniel Richardson, Deputy County Administrator. We, as Supervisor Hanveld has said, we do care for our frogs and toads. Therefore, we're going to send a third comment letter on them. So we had this.
But we don't croak over it. Just remember I told you that.
All right. Okay. This particular letter is in regards to they released a draft economic analysis report that describes the impact that we'll have as a result of this particular endangered species designation. And so the issue with this particular economic analysis is it's really a cost analysis looking at what is the impact to the federal government and those who have to implement whatever they decide to implement as a result of these designations. It is not a true economic analysis, which should look at the impact to the local economies that it might be impact as a result of potential closures of entire zones, meadows, whatever they decide to do to protect these species. So the comment letter that was passed out to you yesterday does take note of the fallacy of being it is not a true economic analysis impact report, requesting that they do produce an economic analysis. We also look at we cite the amount of economic impact. They say is $630,000 to $1.5 million, saying this is severely misleading because should certain activities not be able to take place in the forest, the impact could be 10 times or many more times that amount. We also make the comment that the maps that have been released as potential areas where these species are located, it's like big bubbles of swaths of land where that may be suitable habitat, but that does not mean that these frogs and toads are actually in these areas. It's habitat potential area. So we think that needs to be revised as where are they currently located. Also, we do make note of a letter that the California Farm Bureau sent out, and they make the point that there's a study that was released talking about the lack of impact from cattle grazing on the breeding and other habitat of the Yosemite toad, saying it's not a significant factor, so why make the comment that you should eliminate grazing in these areas. Maybe there's a letter here for your editing pleasure and to send out as the board's third comment letter on the Yosemite toad and yellow-legged frog.
Questions?
I'll start with an apology to Daniel because he was working on this and I have been under the weather and wasn't able to get back to him in a timely fashion. There are a couple of things that I think we need to definitely make clearer. And the first point would be that when we're talking about the critical habitat areas, you addressed this, Daniel, I think in your 1, 2, 3rd paragraph. Yeah. There's been a lot of discussion about occupied sites, which I think is what you were getting at as to that should be the critical habitat designation. And the agency is looking at potential habitat, and there is a huge difference. Because with the potential habitat, then we get that wide swath. Mm-hmm. And even if we consider potential habitat, that still really only is meadows and lakes. I don't know if there's any on any stream corridors or not. I think it's predominantly meadows and lakes. Mm-hmm. And still, so even if we look at the potential habitat, it doesn't incorporate the wide swath that the agency is proposing. And so I think we need to differentiate and say, although we would prefer that they only mitigate on occupied habitat, even if they look at potential habitat, that still does not incorporate the wide swath that they are taking. And the second point that I would make gets to your economic analysis, and you incorporate the grazing piece of it. This is going to have an economic impact on any permitted use, or could have the potential to have an economic impact on any permitted use, i.e., someone taking their horse up and riding in the Immigrant may not see an impact, but our pack stations definitely could have potential impacts. So we want to minimize the impact to all of the permitted uses that are on the forest, including recreation. They're the first that come to mind. It could even impact some timber sale. I know where there's been timber sales above 6,000 feet, small sales. So I would definitely incorporate the term permitted uses with respect to grazing, timber, and recreation.
I see nodding heads. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I'd just like to add just one little comment, and that is I share all the comments that Supervisor Brennan had there. And I think the problem that I see here is this overreaching impact of a single status, single species, whether it's endangered, threatened, or whether it isn't any of those things. The danger of overreaching on a single status management program is that you neglect the others, and the world isn't that simple. And that's what we're seeing. And I mean, we all know rimfire, what happened. And we've been managing that forest for goshawks and great gray owls and spotted owls, and they all lost their homes, and they flew away. And they found new homes and foraged. Took them a while. They were homeless. But the impacts on the terrestrial species were devastating. And so single species management, while it's important to be aware of these things and help them thrive, got to deal with root cause and not overreach. So I think it's a good letter, and it's good that we continue to stay on this. Like I say, I love the frogs. I'd like them to continue. They're attacked by a virus and not so much by the trout, which is a bothering thing for me. But anyway, it's a good letter. Thank you.
I have a question. How come anytime there's a special status or endangered species, they don't do any kind of like hatchery breeding or things like that? I know. I mean, why couldn't they catch a couple of them and go and, you know?
That's a good question. We could bring it up the Natural Resources Committee to our U.S. Fish and Wildlife retired experts and see what their thoughts are.
I've had people ask me that before, and I couldn't answer it, and it seemed like it made sense. Why not, why not do something like that?
Could have a
Captive breeding
frog
programs
farm.
for endangered.
Well, and we can raise that question, and it's certainly a good question raised. I will bring up the example of the Lahontan trout, which is a endangered species, and yet it is in hatcheries on the east side. So I think
So
they
they
really
do-
are looking at native populations, which, again, is worthy of a discussion, certainly at some point.
I think something to consider and maybe look at legislative platform. Anyways, good letter. Thank you. John?
No, I think the letter's fine. I think it's to the point, and with Sherry's changes there makes sense. We're raising Lahantans at Moccasin also
Oh, I
to be
didn't know
planted.
that.
To be planted. So, we do have ways of changing the outcome of
Yeah,
of
give 'em a little
species,
help every once in a
so, maybe it hasn't been approached, but I think raising frogs should be relatively easy.
It'd be a loud hatchery.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. Okay,
Any public comment? Bring it back for motion.
I'd make a motion to send the letter with the changes that we discussed.
Second? All right, got a motion second on the floor. Any discussion? Call for question, all in favor?
Aye.
Carries 4-0. Thank you, Daniel. All right, 16A.
Consideration of approving correspondence in support of the H.R. 3606, the Immigrant Wilderness Historical Use Preservation Act of 2013.
Morning again, Daniel Richardson, Deputy County Administrator. H.R. 3606 is a bill. It was introduced by Congressman Tom McClintock. A copy of the bill you have with you. It is going to be heard in the House's Natural Resources Committee this particular week, in the Public Land Subcommittee, actually. And the purpose of this bill is to allow historical activities to continue to take place in the immigrant wilderness. There's not adding, subtracting, just maintain what was always the case. So what it says, the bill's introduction states clearly its purpose to ensure that future generations of Americans continue to have the opportunity for a true wilderness experience consistent with what existed when the immigrant wilderness was designated. So the delegation back in D.C. is looking for any support to this bill as it moves through the legislative process. And so we have a simple letter that was produced which supports this bill.
Board questions?
I'm sorry. I might make a couple of editorial comments. In the last line of the second paragraph, prevent similar actions from occurring, I would say similar negative impacts. And the last sentence of the next line, where the simple goal is to maintain past and current activities, I would just change that to the historical activities and features, because that's really what we're after maintaining the historical nature of the wilderness prior to becoming designated as wilderness. But other than that, I think it's a good letter. It's the right thing to do.
Is there an opportunity to call out, so on page 4, line 8, it says historical use of trails, roads, paths, campsites, meadows, and cross-country areas. Is there an opportunity to ask that structures be included? Because we have structures at Yellowhammer, Cooper's, I think the forest has one at Snow Lake, I'm not sure. But I know those structures are often the target of concern.
And some of them, the Forest Service does use still.
Correct.
Historical activities and structures?
That might be best run directly through Congressman McClintock rather than the letter,
Yeah, so
because typically the author would bring up those amendments.
so can we
Right.
do that?
Yeah, I could definitely call Rocky Deal and make note of that.
Thank you.
I agree with that, because to me, that's a historical activity. And in another portion of the forest, we know that one structure in the Monty Wolf cabin, for instance, was largely destroyed because of lack of protection.
Any other comments at this point? Public comment? Bring it back for a motion.
Second?
And that includes the comments and the changes? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Call for the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries 4-0. Thank you, Daniel. Alicia, could you please read item 17?
Consideration of approving correspondence providing comments on the whitewater rafting study related to the Don Pedro Federal Energy Regulatory Commission relicensing.
Thank you. Staff report.
Daniel Richardson, Deputy County Administrator. Whitewater rafting is our topic. The Tuolumne River whitewater rafting experience empties. It ends at the Wards Ferry Road Bridge as it meets Lake Don Pedro. As part of the FERC relicensing process for Lake Don Pedro, this particular takeout spot was studied, and the study was released recently. And so this is your board's opportunity to comment on the whitewater takeout study. This was discussed at the county's Water Advisory Committee, and this action is to send a letter, a comment letter. We already did send a comment letter from the Water Advisory Committee to meet their deadline. This is to reiterate those comments coming from the full Board of Supervisors. Your comment letter as was prepared are taken from talk to Duke York with the Community Resources Agency because Wards Ferry Road is a county maintained road. Also talk to the U.S. Forest Service because they are in charge of overseeing the recreation portion, the whitewater rafting portion of it. Also talk to the Sheriff's Office because there are issues with vandalism at this location to get their recommendation on what should we suggest be included in this comment letter. So we have a letter that talks about the travel to and from this site on Wards Ferry Road and how dangerous that road can be, particularly with rafting trucks pulling trailers with rafts on them. Also the parking near the bridge, it is unsafe and there's vandalism that does occur there. The road gets damaged as cars are constantly pulling off and on it. The actual boat takeout, they park a truck on the bridge and hoist it up using a crane mechanism, quite innovative. But it is dangerous because it's closing a lane of traffic on a county-maintained road for a period of time. There's also a walking path that is inadequate that's causing erosion to occur. We're requesting that they improve that walking path. We're also requesting they actually put an actual boat takeout launch ramp, not a launch, but a takeout ramp there. Also, communications are difficult in the area. In talking to the Sheriff's Office, radio communications are not that great. There's no or little cell phone service. So for health and safety reasons, we'd recommend communications be looked at for that area. Finally, we just want to make sure that we enhance the user experience. You don't want to leave a bad taste in our visitors' mouths. These visitors, whitewater rafters, they come and they stay in our local hotels, particularly in the Groveland area, and they spend a lot of money in whitewater rafting. We want to make sure they have a first-rate experience. So with that, we do have a letter. One added thing that I had a request in the communication paragraph to add that we add in public health and safety concerns as another reason why we want to improve the communications there.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Question?
it's a good letter. I think it's important that we really do comment on this because it's our only opportunity to see improvements in that area. All you have to do is meet one of those river rafting buses and back up for a quarter of a mile on Old Wards Ferry Road, and you understand that there are some safety issues. So thank you. I'm prepared to make a motion when you're ready.
Any other questions? Public comment, bring it back.
I move that we approve the correspondence to the Whitewater Boating Takeout Improvement Feasibility Report.
Second.
Okay, got a motion second. Any discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good letter. Okay. At this time, I'm going to recess as the Board of Supervisors and reconvene as the Tuolumne County Water Agency. And would the clerk please read item 18?
Consideration of approving correspondence providing comments on the Whitewater rafting study related to the Don Pedro Federal Energy Regulatory Commission relicensing.
All right. And we got a staff report once, same thing as the Water Agency, right?
Ding, ding, okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
any
same
board
thing.
questions, comments, public comment, bring it back to the board. Can I get a motion?
I move on staff recommendations.
Is there a second? All right. Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Recess as Tuolumne County, or actually adjourn as the Tuolumne County Water Agency, and reconvene as Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors. And could the clerk please read Ms. Shane's item 19?
Consideration of approving an agreement between the Merced County Regional Waste Management Authority and the County of Tuolumne disposal of solid waste.
Staff report.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, before you today is an agreement between the County of Tuolumne and the Merced County Regional Waste Management Authority for the disposal of solid waste. Waste generated in Tuolumne County is consolidated at Cal Sierra Transfer Station, and it is hauled out of county for disposal. In 2010, Cal Sierra Transfer Station, at the county's request, began taking the waste to Highway 59 landfill in Merced. At that time, Waste Management directly negotiated the rates and had a contract with Merced. Due to the formation of the Merced County Regional Waste Management Authority and their use of municipal bonds, they needed to contract directly with the county as a government agency as opposed to a private entity. At that time, a letter of agreement was created between the county and Merced, and that was in place. That expired June 30th, 2013. Just prior to that expiration, they requested that we have a more formal agreement. We extended that letter of agreement so that we could negotiate on the more formal agreement. A counsel for Merced, Carlin Driftall, Deputy County Counsel for Tuolumne County, Brooke Stayer, Solid Waste Director for Merced, and I negotiated the agreement before you. The agreement is for a 4-year term with a base rate of $21 per ton, which is 3 cents per ton higher than the rate we're paying right now. There's an additional $1.40, which is an integrated waste management fee, which goes directly to the state of California. So the total disposal cost upon execution of this agreement would be $22.40. The agreement also includes a 2.5% increase to the base rate each fiscal year. That would begin, the first increase would begin July 1st, 2014. There is a document at the second to last page of your board packet which outlines the percent of the consumer price index, percent change of the consumer price index for the last 19 years. The average is 2.72. So the increase of 2.5 is less than what the average has been for the last 19 years. The chart also demonstrates what the cost will be with the increase each year. And the final rate we would be paying is $24.59 per ton in 2018. That's as long as the state doesn't raise the $1.40.
Yep.
The third to last page in the packet is a spreadsheet which shows a comparison of landfills. I called many landfills in the area to see what their rates were. If you look at that chart, you'll see that the current cost at any of those landfills is greater than the cost at the end of this contract with Merced. Also, Merced has discounted contract rates with other jurisdictions within Merced County. Those range from $31.43 a ton to $40.21 per ton. So the rate that they're offering us is better than the rates that other jurisdictions in Merced County are paying. The Solid Waste Committee unanimously approved this and recommended, or they unanimously approved that you recommend, try one more time, unanimously recommended that you approve this agreement. The financial impacts would be that the rates would be going up annually at the transfer station, and most likely the transfer station would be coming back annually to recoup that cost, and the haulers have a pass-through for any increase for their disposal. It would increase the customer rates on the hauling side of the company as well.
That's it?
That's it.
Questions?
Just a comment, the Solid Waste Committee did review this, and, you know, obviously it's the best deal that we can find, so, you know, I'm certainly prepared to make a motion to accept the
Before you do,
agreement.
I would like to make one, other comment, is that I did pass out today Exhibit A that goes to the contract. Besides the per ton fee that we pay, there's certain items that they charge extra for, mattresses and tires, and if an appliance accidentally gets slipped in. So those rates would be set on this Exhibit A under additional charges. They've been charging us $10 for the refrigerators, $5 for every mattress, and $3 for the tires. And they're willing to fix those prices for the term of the contract.
And how does that relate to what we're charging people to dump those?
We're charging substantially more.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, this looks like a pretty good deal. Do we have an option to extend the contract?
I do not believe an option to extend that was built in.
I didn't see it. That's,
Right. It was fixed.
maybe we want to extend this contract. This is a much better deal for a long time than we can get anywhere else. But anyway, I'm prepared to approve.
I have a question. Is there, do we guarantee a certain stream to them?
All the waste that is collected, yes, that we take
Has
to
to
them.
go there?
All but 10%. There is 10% of the waste, if it goes to certain transformations, can be, you can use that as a deduction for the annual report that we do. So we left that in there, that we can take 10% of the waste and take it to another facility if that benefits us, as far as reducing our pounds per person per day.
Okay.
In reporting. And
The-
also, they're not open on holidays, so we will be having to use forward landfill.
I saw
on
that, yeah.
holidays, yes.
The thoughts that I have related to, I agree this is a good deal, and it's nice to have a steady term. I know we also have some longer-term visions for solid waste having to do with waste-to-energy type facilities and so forth, and I know those things take an enormous probably amount of time to figure out how to fund and, you know, a site for it and things like that. But I think in the future, that is something that we want to pursue. And I know we have our franchise agreement, which in the past have kind of dictated our timeline related to this as far as our longer-term strategic planning and so forth. But I question whether the franchise agreements for collection and hauling would affect our ability to actually determine the location where the waste is taken to. I think just the fact that they're collecting it is one thing, but where it's going is another. But I think a contract like this may impact that. Carlin, do you get what I'm kind of...
Deputy County Counsel Carlin Drivdahl. In our collection franchises agreements, we have the authority to direct where that waste goes.
Yeah.
So at this time, we direct all of our franchisees to deliver it to the Cal Sierra transfer station.
Yeah.
Now, in our franchise agreement with Cal Sierra, we also get to tell them then where to take all the waste that is delivered. So this agreement, we are basically saying that we are going to tell Waste Management, you will take it to the Merced landfill for the term of the agreement.
I don't think we're going to build a waste-to-energy facility in the next 4 years. But my point is, I don't think that prevents us from starting the process and looking at it based on the collection of the, it just, this particular agenda item sparked that thought that, you know, I think that we could start that process sooner than what we have projected to do. I know we have other limitations like staff time and resources and so forth, but I want to see if I can kickstart that a little more. And I know Supervisor Gray's been working on it for a long time, and is very interested in it, and might have some other
I think
insights.
that though it's not the agenda item that we're working on, but certainly I agree with.
I would agree. I'm a little bit off, but it relates to it in that I was concerned how this contract could affect that, and that's. But like I said, 4 years from now, we're not going to have that done, so I don't think it does. But anyways, maybe just take that as direction to look into and
Yes.
Start pursuing. So with that, I will ask for public comment. I don't know if anyone wants to say anything, or if not, okay. I'll bring it back to the board and ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the contract.
Okay. Do you have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? Call for the question. All
Aye.
in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 4-0. Thank you. Let's see. So we've got other business here. I'm going to skip item 20 at this time, come back to it. And let's go to 21.
Consideration of approving follow-up correspondence to the United States Forest Service on the Board of Supervisors' prior request for information and after-action review on the 2013 rim fire.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask that you continue this item, at least till next meeting. There was a meeting that was supposed to take place last week with myself and Supervisor Rotifer and the Forest Supervisor that might bear on this topic, and unfortunately that meeting was postponed till late this week due to my personal illness, and I'd like to have that meeting before we take further action. I don't think it'll make a lot of difference.
I don't think it'll make or break. Any other comments? Is everybody okay with that? All right,
No,
well then.
Yeah. I think we have some information that we heard yesterday that has bearing on this, but go ahead, Craig.
Well, we met with Supervisor Skalski yesterday, and she believes that there is a response letter on Secretary, how you pronounce it?
Vilsack's
desk, and hope to have she expects it could be out sometime this week. So
Okay.
it seems prudent, hold off, because that letter may be imminent as well.
All right.
Yes.
Is it specifically for March 18th or just future date?
Yeah, next meeting. We'll just continue it to our next
Okay.
meeting. And I don't know if I can just take, do we need a motion to do that, or can I just do that? Okay, consensus, we'll continue to our next meeting. All right. I don't see any public comment. All right, could the clerk read 22?
It's presentation on the Board of Chairman's appointments to the Board of Supervisors Rules and Regulations Ad Hoc Committee.
Okay, and this is, I guess, my agenda item. So just really quickly, the appointments are as following for the ad hoc committee, which is comprised of 7 members. For the board, it'll be Supervisor Rotifer as the chair, Supervisor Handveld as the other delegate, and department heads, I think we already approved Debbie Russell. The other one I'm going to appoint is Ms. Shane, and then the remaining are basically appointed by virtue of their titles or offices, which is CAO, the board clerk, which is Ms. Jamar, and county counsel, which is Ms. Carrillo. So there's that. And then the other item, I'll just bring up for quick discussion. There's no action on this item, but I comprised a list of all the comments I heard from people on potential items to be heard, and I've got some concerns that some of these may not pertain specifically to the task here. So I'm going to just open up and let people make those comments, and then just point out real quick that this isn't like a hardcore adopted list, but it just gives committee things that they can consider. So with that, Mr. Gray, I'll let you.
Specifically, the last two items, create a master annual board calendar and consider requiring an annual retreat. I think those are good ideas, but I don't think they're rules and regulations
Yeah.
that need to be included in the board rules. But just my opinion, certainly open for discussion. I think there was one other that had to do with budget, the budget policies. That's, I believe, separate from board rules. That's a budget policy thing. So, for discussion, fine, but, when it comes down to putting them on paper, I think that's
Related to the board rules, a separate issue.
Separate issue.
Yeah, I would agree, and I would say to be more appropriate, let's agendize 2 additional items in the future when we can fit it in the next, I don't know if we can do it 4 weeks from now, maybe. Give us some time to put something together, and I can work with Greg on that. For the last 2 items, one is the retreat, establishing like a annual retreat and process for adopting goals during that retreat. And then the other one is calendar, and that relates to it also in the budgetary process. So, so I'll pull that off of here, and then the remaining portion of it, if everybody is okay with at this time, I will just say that's some general direction. Ms. Creel?
Just one comment, and I know we talked about it last time, and I just wanted to make it clear that there's only 2 voting members, and the remainder of the people are just staff, so that we don't have to comply with the Brown Act, because this will be a short term.
That makes it easier, yeah. And I think that staff will have lots and lots of good input that the board will be happy to take into their consideration when making a decision or a recommendation. And in the end, it's the 5 board members that get to make this decision. So, are there any other questions? And I don't see much public out there, so I'm suspecting we don't have any public comment. Schedule for this, Ms. Jamar, can you work on coordinating between all the different committee members to establish a schedule? And I suspect there's a pretty good list of things to work on here, but I don't expect it to
I'll
take
work with
too
the
long.
chair on that, the committee, and then we'll establish that, if
Perfect.
that's okay with you.
All right, I think that's pretty much all we need to do to iron this one out. So, last chance for comments. And if not, seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to read. I guess let's do 20 now.
Reports.
Okay, and let's start with. Let's do reports real quick, and then we'll do that. Do both. Go ahead, Randy. If there's anything important that we need to hear about, feel free.
Go back, thank you. After last meeting, I attended the RCRC Executive Committee meeting in Sacramento. And I think it's good that we got selected to be there. That gives us a lot more advantage. I went over to the Capitol after that, and I sat in on the Legislative Committee meeting on county affairs, and that was very interesting. But I had to stay there for another 2 hours before I could testify, so I only stayed about an hour and a half. I was over at the Capitol and visited several offices while I was there, and I also was KVML's Newsmaker of the Day with Mark Trupner, and then I attended the CSAC reception that night. It was interesting who was there and who wasn't there. Basically, it was a lot of CSAC people and a few county supervisors. Not a lot of the legislators showed up, which was kind of a surprise to me. And no one from RCRC showed up, which was interesting. Next day, I went to a water meeting there in Sacramento as opposed to going to the CSAC board meeting, because of course Supervisor Royce was going to that anyway, but I usually attend as the alternate. But the water meeting was interesting because there were at least 3 major players that were not there, and I make note of that. In a comprehensive water meeting, it seems to me the tribes were not, in California, were not there, although a few of them showed up in the audience and were rather indignant about not being invited. The counties of origin were not on the dais and speaking, and the U.S. Forest Service, who manages most of the watershed in California, was not there. So the source function was not there, and that was interesting. But there were several people there, and they did talk about the water bond coming up. And Lois Wolk was there, the senator, and she mentioned storage a number of times. So did Senator Berryhill, as well as Connie Conway. So I'm still hopeful there. I got back in time to attend the chamber mixer. I went to the YSS on Friday the 21st, and I met with Larry Cope and the new Columbia College president in the afternoon. I look forward to her tenure here with us, and I think she'll work hard to make Columbia College a more visible part of our community. Then I attended the Prudential Berkshire Hathaway reception Saturday night and the Mule Deer Foundation dinner at the Elks, and then I went to a CSAC Leadership Symposium in San Jose across the weekend, and I did Read Across America with Dory Anderson's class at Soulsbyville Elementary yesterday, and if you haven't done that, you need to do that next year, and it is a great experience, so there you go.
All right, I'm going to do mine real quick. On the 12th of February, we had our TCTC meeting, and one exciting thing from my perspective is all of the CMAQ projects that we submitted were approved. We submitted 3 projects, and all 3 were funded, and there's actually some additional funding beyond that. And 2 of those projects are Tuolumne projects that I've been working on for a while, and they'll be moving forward. One is the alleyway project in the commercial core, and the other is the park and ride parking lot in between the Memorial Hall, the baseball fields, the libraries, and the horseshoe pits in the park. Right now it's gravel, so that's all going to be developed and paved, which is going to be awesome for Tuolumne. And then let's see, the next thing I want to mention, I guess would be CSAC. A couple interesting things from CSAC. There was a presentation by a guy from the governor's, I guess Department of Corrections, talking about the federal decision relating to inmate populations and the releases over the next 2 years. They're going to have to work to reduce those populations substantially still. So there's going to be a lot of additional impacts to our local facilities, and they're going to be monitoring that as things progress. Not sure exactly how it's going to impact us yet, but guaranteed it will. By far, there is just not enough room in the prisons for the amount of people that they have right now. And I guess the biggest thing for people to know is what that does is you get those people that are released that are the less serious offenders in prison. They put them in county jails, and then they become the more serious offenders in jails with longer terms, and we become a medium to light security prison instead of just a jail. So CSAC's going to be on that. Another interesting thing is the Rule 21, the new funding. We talked about that and approved some correspondence talking about road funding, similar to what's on our legislative platform. There was a little bit of discussion about some of the concerns, similar to what I had about new revenue sources versus reallocating additional revenue sources. It's frustrating to see, things like high-speed rail with billions and billions of dollars allocated towards it when it's, in a lot of people's opinion, not a very feasible or valuable project overall, but we're letting our infrastructure fall apart. So try to make points to tie that stuff more to it, but road funding is definitely something on the agenda. And that's pretty much it for that one. And then the last thing I'll mention is the Biological Resources Ad Hoc Committee. We have basically completed our work. We have one more meeting to review all of the changes that we have to the policy. I think it's a really good document. We've actually changed the name of the, was it the biological, what do we change the name of the element to? Natural resources element of the general plan, which encompasses more of an umbrella overview of all the different components to that. There's a lot of good information, charts, talking about the different breakups, similar to the land use element, but it makes some very clear points about the breakup of how our land is, owned and conserved and so forth. So I look forward to one more meeting and then bringing it back to the board for you guys to consider. That's my report.
I'm next. All right, you did mention that February 12th, the TCTC meeting, and I think those are really good, sound projects, even if they are happening in Tuolumne.
Yeah.
But it's a good use of the money and funds. On Wednesday, the 19th, attended an emergency medical committee meeting, went over ambulance protocol and procedures on administering different drugs and the way they do things. Quite interesting meeting. On Thursday, a Board of Supervisors planning committee meeting, doing general plan update, but we'll be talking about those later today. And on Monday the 24th, airport committee meeting, we looked at the new snowplow procedure, which I think will help if it ever does snow at that level again. We'll have a good policy in place. And also, we are still looking at the hangar rental agreements, and that should come to the board here in the near future. On the 25th, met with Larry Cope to go over my new duties as chairman of the Economic Development Authority, and also had my monthly meeting with Craig and looked at a number of little issues that hang out there, and I think are very productive. Wednesday, the 26th, at Groveland office hours, met with a gentleman for quite some time concerning a CSA in the Groveland area. Ms. Shane's all over that one to fix that. And then on Thursday, the 27th, Museum Board of Governors meeting, two issues that they wanted me to talk to Mr. Pedro about, and he's here. And one of them is, can they use a hose to water the historic plants because the maintenance department took all their hoses away from them, and without the rain, they're worried about some of those historic plants dying. And I said, I'm sure that if there's a 50% cutback, there's some arrangements that could be made. I'd hope. The other issue had to do with signing, and maybe this is something Ms. Shane can help us with. I'm going to ask TCTC in the city of Sonora. It's hard to find the museum. If you're walking up and down the street, is most difficult, and it's hoped that maybe collectively we can come up with some better signing to get more people there, because they got great displays, good place to visit. It just people don't know it's there. So hopefully we can work together and get something better than what we have. And I don't remember the date, but we did have another Board of Supervisors Planning Committee meeting. I think they're moving along. We reviewed the culture resources, air quality, community identity, and Jamestown Community Plan, and all that will be coming to the board in the near future. I want to thank those committee members for doing their homework and being ready to engage, and it makes things a lot easier. That's my report.
All right.
All right. On the 19th, I met with Darren Grossi and his staff and members of the First Five. There are some transportation needs out to their Bluebell facility, which is a Head Start out off of Tuolumne Road. I want to thank Darren and his folks. I think they're going to find some solutions, and it's going to be real beneficial for a lot of folks in this county that have transportation needs. On the 20th, we had the Water Committee meeting. The majority of the discussion was on the drought. Haven't commented on the Biological Resources Ad Hoc Committee on the 24th. The only thing that I would add is thank you to a tremendous amount of staff time, and both staff and the members of that committee have invested a lot of hours, and hopefully a good document is going to come out of that. On the 25th, Duke York and I met with residents out at Apple Valley, looking at some issues with some movement of folks between Apple Valley and Lower Hillview. I think we came up with some good solutions out there that are going to work for everyone. On the 27th, I attended the Sustainable Forest Science Water Synthesis Working Group meeting in Sacramento. I would just caution that we keep having these water discussions, and as I said earlier, long-term, we've got to get to some real action out on the ground. And there is a reality that there is still a resistance from a large community of people out there. And we've got to keep working on this and find some resolutions. And on the 3rd, yesterday, met with Supervisor Skalski and Craig, Craig brought forward the memorandum of understanding. Hopefully we'll be bringing that back to the board. And thank you for your work on that, Craig. That's it.
County Council.
Over the last couple of weeks, all of the attorneys have been involved in a lot of juvenile contested hearings, so advising child welfare and appearing at those hearings. Carlin's been working on Blue Mountain Minerals, the CSERC litigation. Chris has been assisting the airports to develop a commercial use agreement. I've been doing a lot of research on water issues for the task force meeting last Friday, and then I was in Southern California for a mediation regarding a litigation the county is involved in. Thank you.
Clerk?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Theo.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the board, I was just going to mention two things that happened. Unfortunately, we lost two people that have played a big role in Tuolumne County's history. One, I wanted to mention this at the last meeting. Some of you may recognize Bob Irwin. Been a long time, was a longtime county resident, 31 years. He'd been a forester in California for 35 years. One of the things that's most notable about Bob, I believe it was called Fire Scope years ago, that early in his career that he was involved in, and it ultimately led to the creation of the incident command system that we follow today. And he was someone who lived here, resided here, and helped share that knowledge and expertise here locally. And he actually had a lot to do in helping to get SWIFT, started in its early years. So it's sad to see, Bob pass. Great contributions to the fire services in the nation, in the state, and our county.
I want to add, he was also a planning commissioner, I believe, for a number of years. The Pine Mountain Lake Fire Safety Plan is a result of him giving a presentation at one of those planning commissions, and the fire scope, what you see at night compared to what you see in the daytime is amazing. You don't see the houses, but he was instrumental in the plan that they have now, and they've taken it to the next generation step. But a great guy to work with.
And
Awesome.
the second passing was Jerry Kale. For years and years, he was our former public defender. For years, we used to contract with that. It became difficult to find folks to serve in that capacity affordably. And Jerry came and established the office as the first, hired county public defender. He did a fabulous job in running that office and providing quality services at an affordable price. Heck of a nice guy, involved in service clubs and other things in our community. And anyway, his passing is more recent, and he does have a celebration of life at Sarah Bible on Saturday at 1 o'clock. But again, a great person who made great contributions to our community.
All right. Could the clerk please read our closed sessions?
Closed session conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, authority, government code section 549-569D1, Palado versus County of Tuolumne County Superior Court case number CV 58619, and also Central Sierra Environmental Resources, CSERC versus County of Tuolumne County Superior Court case number CV 58617, and also a conference with legal counsel, initiation of litigation, authority, government code section 549-569D4, one case.
All right. Do we expect to report anything out? No? All right. Any public comment? All right. At this time, we're going to recess to closed session, and then we'll be back at 1:30 for appointments.
Public hearing to consider adopting a resolution to approve the issuance of tax-exempt revenue bonds by the California Statewide Community Development Authority for the Tuolumne Apartments.
Thank you. Staff report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Sheila Shanahan, Housing Program Coordinator for the county. As you might recall, the county was awarded over $3.3 million in home funds for the renovation of Tuolumne Apartments, which is a 52-unit affordable housing project in Tuolumne, which is owned by the Michaels organization. The county submitted a home application so that an important affordable housing project will remain affordable for another 55 years, and the project will receive much-needed repairs. The home funds, as you might recall, are a portion of the total financing package for the project. And the project, they intend to acquire and renovate the project, and total cost is over $7.3 million. The Michaels organization is applying for tax-exempt bonds as part of their financing, and that's why we're here today. They're purchasing the property under Tuolumne Road Apartments as a limited partnership, and they're using SECITA as their bond issuer. SECITA is the California Statewide Communities Development Authority, and the county is a member of SECITA. Tax law requires that proposed tax-exempt financing be approved by the governmental unit having jurisdiction over the area where the project is located, and in this case, your board is that governmental unit. Your board is being asked to conduct what's called a TEFRA hearing. That's Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, and to adopt the resolution in your packet. The bonds are limited obligations of SECITA and payable solely by the owners of the project, which is Tuolumne Road Partners LP. The county is in no way responsible for repayment of the bonds and assumes no liability for their repayment. The resolution and staff report have been reviewed by Chris Schmidt, Deputy County Counsel, and he's here today as well to answer any legal questions. SECITA can't issue bonds for the project unless your board holds a public hearing and adopts the proposed resolution. The bond funds will be used for the acquisition and renovation of the project. Staff is recommending that your board adopt the resolution to approve issuance of tax-exempt bonds by SECITA in an amount not to exceed $6.5 million for Tuolumne Apartments on behalf of Tuolumne Road Partners LP after conducting a TEFRA public hearing. And I would like to mention that Kathleen Paley from the Michaels organization is here as well.
Thank you. Board questions?
You can open the public hearing. Or is this a public hearing?
It is, but don't I open it after board questions?
I don't have any questions. I think we've pretty well vetted this.
We've done it
once before, so.
Yeah.
I don't recall the number 6.5 million. Where'd that come from? I thought it was 5 point something.
That is the amount of the maximum amount of tax-exempt bonds that would go to the project. And I don't know
Which is 6.5 or where?
It's up to 6.5 million.
Wasn't the number we talked about in the previous grant 5?
The original home application in 2012, when there were more funds to be distributed, was $5 million. And then the maximum for the home grant was $3.5 million. We were awarded 3.34, and so that was for home. But the home financing was always part of the total financing package, which is a much larger number. And I don't know if maybe you'd like to speak to that.
Supervisor Kathleen Paley for the Michaels organization. We're asking for an amount not to exceed $6.5 million so that we don't have to come back to you in the case there's some last-minute movement. The package is due at TCAC tomorrow, and as it stands right now, it's a little over $5.9 million in bonds, 2.2 in investor equity, 185,000 in reserves, 621 deferred developer fee, 687,000 makes up the construction. The total project is 7.3, roughly.
Also
Always.
I don't know if I'm getting at what Supervisor Hanfield is going towards, but, and I will ultimately support this because I know we need it, but at 7.3 and dividing the 54 units, I mean, that's $135,000 and change each unit for
Yes, ma'am.
restoration effort.
Yes, ma'am. It frustrates us, too. Remember that we are acquiring the project, and we have to pay off the existing debt, which I don't recall the exact amount, but it's close to $2 million.
It's also a prevailing wage job.
Right, and that was my next comment.
And they also need to put aside reserves for operations and for replacement reserves.
Capital reserves, right.
So that's in addition to the cost of renovation.
Any other board questions? I have just a clarification just for the benefit of the public and then a question. In the event of a default, the county is in no way held liable for any of these funds, right? And I think I know the answer, but I want to make sure.
Christopher Schmidt, Deputy County Counsel. The answer is no. The county would not be liable.
We're not on the hook at all.
Correct.
Okay. Remember that. And then the other thing, I guess it's not a question, but once again, I just want to encourage Michael's organization as much as possible to use local contractors, vendors, because that helps us. So we appreciate that. And with that, I think I will open the public hearing and ask for anyone that would like to speak in favor to come forward now. Seeing none, anyone opposed? Seeing none, anyone neutral? And I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
It's in your district.
It's in my district, so let's see. So I guess I will make a motion to approve adopting the resolution to issue the tax-exempt bonds as recommended.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 4-0. Thank you. All right. Could the clerk please read our next appointment?
Public hearing to consider Gene Elkins Trust Special Ordinance amending Section 1706.020 of the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Bev Shane, Community Resources Director. Gene Elkins owns property off of Cedar Street in the community of Tuolumne. The Tuolumne Utilities District also owns property in that area, which immediately abuts Mr. Elkins' property. Recently, TUD and Mr. Elkins did a land trade so that TUD could acquire a 25-foot wide access easement from their property through Mr. Elkins' property to Locust Street. In exchange, Mr. Elkins acquired 2/10 of an acre, which has been done through an adjustment, which is now part of another parcel. The end result is that he has one legal parcel with 2 assessor's parcel numbers and with a split zoning district. The property that he acquired from TUD is zoned public. Our public zoning applies to land that is owned by a public agency. Now that this portion of his property is under private ownership, Mr. Elkins is asking for your approval today to rezone the 2/10 acre portion of his property from public to R1, single-family residential, which is consistent with the general plan and with the remaining zoning on that particular legal parcel. This project was considered by the Tuolumne County Planning Commission at its meeting on February 19th. At that time, after conducting a public hearing and hearing no opposition, the Tuolumne County Planning Commission unanimously has recommended approval of this project.
Thank you. Questions? All right, I will open the public hearing Anybody like to speak in favor? Seeing none. Anybody opposed? Seeing none. Neutral. Bring it back to the board. This is my district. And what am I doing here? Oh, thank you. So I'll move to approve the zone change RZ 14-001 based on findings A through D.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the question. All in favor? Aye. Carries 4-0. Thank you. All right, could the clerk please read item 3?
Public hearing to consider Long Gulch Ranch LLC and Yosemite Club Partners resolution to change the land use designations, special ordinance amending section 1706-020 of the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code, ordinance to release and cancellation of development agreement and rescission of the Tuolumne Oaks vested tentative subdivision map.
Staff report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Bev Shane, Community Resources Director. On November 5th of 1996, a prior Board of Supervisors approved a general plan amendment, zone change, development agreement, and tentative subdivision map for the Tuolumne Oaks subdivision located on a 1,157-acre ranch known as Long Gulch. The property is located off of Ferretti Road and Clinton Road in the Groveland community. The property is also located immediately east of the Pine Mountain Lake subdivision. The approved Tuolumne Oaks project includes a golf course, 362 residential lots surrounding that golf course. Water and sewer service to the project were to be provided by the Groveland Community Services District. Mitigation from potential impacts associated with that development included 367.3 acres of open space 1 zoning along the Long Gulch Panhandle and 86.1 acres of open space zoning in other portions of the property to protect biological resources. An additional mitigation measure was that 18 acres of the project site were to be dedicated to the county of Tuolumne. That property is located next to the Pine Mountain Lake Airport, and the purpose for the dedication was for the future expansion of that airport, and specifically 20 aircraft tie-downs. Since its approval in 1996, that project obviously has not been developed. The property owners are now asking for your approval today of entitlements that would rescind the approval that was done in 1996 of the Tuolumne Oaks subdivision project. That would allow them to then sell the 12 legal parcels that comprise the project site without the encumbrances provided by these entitlements. As such, today, the applicant is asking for your approval of a resolution to amend the general plan land use designations that apply to the project site to agricultural airport overlay, agricultural and rural residential with the airport overlay. They are asking for you to approve an ordinance to change the zoning on the project site to AE 37 with the AIR combining district, A20 with the AIR combining district, and AE 37 for the area outside the airport influence area. They are also asking your board to approve an ordinance for the release and cancellation of the development agreement for the Tuolumne Oaks subdivision, and finally to rescind the board's approval of the Tuolumne Oaks vesting tentative subdivision map. The Tuolumne County Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on February 19th, and after hearing from the applicant's representative and hearing no opposition to this project, they did recommend approval by unanimous vote.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. Anybody like to speak in favor? Come forward.
Good afternoon. Ron Kopp, representing the Long Gulch landowners. I think staff did a very good job summarizing the points. Obviously, we're not excited about removing all the entitlements on this property. I mean, they were a long issue to do, but as it stands with the current economic conditions and other things, it just doesn't make sense to go forward with the plan as it's entitled. So I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Any other public comment wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, anybody opposed? Neutral? Bring it back to the board.
This was such a big controversial project when it was approved, and it looked exciting at the times, but times have changed. I have not had any comment on this, positive or negative, in the community, and I'm prepared to make a motion whenever you're ready.
Any other comments?
Make a motion.
Go ahead.
Okay, I move that we approve the resolution for general plan amendment, GPA 14-00, based on findings A, B, C, and D. I also move to approve the ordinance for zone change, RZ 14-007, on findings A, B, C, and D. Also move to approve the ordinance to release and cancellation of development agreement 95DA-04 based on findings A, B, C, and D. And also move to of the rescission of vesting tentative subdivision map 94 TSM-047 of Tuolumne Oaks subdivision based on findings A, B, C, D, and E.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries 4-0. Thank you. Clerk, please read our fourth appointment.
Public hearing to consider adopting a resolution for general plan amendment to incorporate the 2013 Tuolumne County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan by referencing the safety element of the Tuolumne County General Plan.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Beaver Shane Community Resources Director. The Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000 requires local governments to develop mitigation plans in order to qualify for hazard mitigation grant funds. The California Disaster Assistance Act requires local agencies to provide a certified copy of a resolution of adoption to the Federal Emergency Management Agency known as FEMA, demonstrating that the approved local hazard mitigation plan has been adopted and incorporated into our local general plans. Our first local hazard mitigation plan was approved by the Board of Supervisors on October 19th of 2004, and subsequent to that, the board did incorporate that plan into the safety element. As with many references, incorporation by reference in our general plan, when another document is then updated, we don't go back and re-adopt it into the general plan. It changes because it's only incorporated by reference. However, we have been advised by the California Office of Emergency Services that they require that any updated plan regarding local hazard mitigation actually be reincorporated into our general plan. So that's why we're here today. Your board adopted the 2013 Tuolumne County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan on December 4th of 2012. It was then submitted to FEMA, and that agency approved it on September 3rd of 2013. So again, today, what you are doing is you are now incorporating the 2013 Hazard Mitigation Plan into the safety element of our general plan. This, again, is going to be a two-step process. This part of the safety element will be adopted today, if your board so chooses. And then remember, as part of the general plan update, we are making additional changes to the safety element. So the focus of today's changes is limited to incorporation of this 2013 hazard mitigation plan. This project was reviewed by the Board of Supervisors Planning Committee at its meeting on January 9th, and that committee endorsed the changes. Your board on January 21st then referred the document to the Tuolumne County Planning Commission. The Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on February 19th and has recommended approval of the amendment to the general plan without any changes.
Questions? Open the hearing. Public comment? For, against, neutral? Motion.
I'd move.
Can you close the public hearing?
I'll move, I move approval of the general plan amendment GPA 13-007 based upon findings A, B, C, D, and E.
Second.
I'll second that, and just to comment that this has been a process with the Board of Supervisors Planning committee, and I think we're working well together. We're moving these things on. Staff's done a good job of preparing the material, and everybody seems to be studying it before we have the committee meeting, so hope we can carry on with this.
Good. Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 4-0. Thank you. Could you please read number 5, Alicia?
Public hearing to consider adopting a resolution for general plan amendment to incorporate regulations relative to the disadvantaged communities into the land use element of the Tuolumne County General Plan.
Staff report.
Good afternoon. I'm Piskowski, Senior Planner for the CRA. Senate Bill 244 was adopted in 2011, which requires, before the next adoption of our housing element, which is in July of this year, that we must review and update the land use element to identify and describe legacy communities that are disadvantaged unincorporated communities in our county. We also have to provide an analysis of water, wastewater, stormwater drainage, and structural fire protection needs or deficiencies for each of those communities, and include an analysis of potential funding for extending those services to those identified communities and make it financially feasible. So in order to identify which communities in our county are considered disadvantaged legacy communities, we use our county parcel data, 2010 census income data, and 2010 census population data. We took topographic maps and identified areas that had at least 10 dwelling units that are adjacent or in close proximity to one another, which is required by SB 244. And they don't provide a threshold of what's considered in close proximity, so we use the 2-acre size for parcels, and that they have existed for at least 50 years. For the income data, we use the median income of the state of $49,306 for the analysis. So using those protocols, we determined that there are 16 disadvantaged communities in our county, which include Apple Colony, Big Oak Flat, Browns Flat, Chinese Camp, Columbia, Groveland, Jamestown, Long Barn, Peter Pan, Shaw's Flat, Soldieville, Strawberry, Stent, Sunshine Camp, Tuolumne, and Twainhart. So therefore, the changes to the land use element, they include one policy and one program change, which are 1A13 and 1AN, which promote extending those public facilities to those communities. And we also drafted the Appendix 1A, which goes into detail of the the disadvantaged communities. The Board of Supervisors Planning Committee met on its December 19, 2013 meeting, and they recommend approval of the proposed amendments. And we took the item to the Tuolumne County Planning Commission at their February 19, 2014 meeting, and they approved the proposed amendments.
All right. Questions?
If you look at page 1-4 of the document, paragraph in red 1, capital A, lowercase n, you have a typo there. Disadvantage needs a D on the end of it.
Good catch. I don't know how we missed that.
I just didn't want to bring it back and have to do it again.
Anything else, Randy?
No.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing, and we don't have anyone in the public, so I'll just say for, against, neutral, seeing none, closed. Satisfies you, Carmen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the general plan amendment JPA 13-0055 based on findings A, B, C, D, and E.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Carries 4-0. Thank you. Item 6.
Consideration of adopting the master resolution amending the Tuolumne County General Plan.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, because state law limits the number of times that a local jurisdiction can amend its mandatory elements in the general plan, the land use element changes are always lumped together in master resolutions. So your last item on your agenda, I ask that you just make a motion to adopt the master resolution amending the Tuolumne County General Plan.
So move.
Questions? Open the public hearing.
Oh, you don't need a public hearing.
Oh, this one's not?
No.
Oh, perfect. Even better. Public comment. Seeing none. Bring it back to the board.
I move we adopt the resolution.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Call for question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And with that, I believe our meeting is adjourned.